So today I have my first review of the first story in the Best American Short Stories of 2017 as edited by Meg Woltzer. And this is going to be the review on Maidencane by Chad B. Anderson as seen in Nimrod. If you are interested to see what I thought about this short story, stick around and we will get into it. Hey y'all, it's Jen and welcome to my channel, If First Inklings. Today is the first installment of my Short Story Sunday series, and this is where I review the short stories in the Best American Short Stories 2017 edition as edited by Meg Woltzer. So I started reading this book because I wanted to follow along with Adrian over at Strip Cover Lit. He is doing short story Saturdays where he is reviewing these same short stories, and I wanted to be able to follow along with him and kind of be able to understand what the story was that he's talking about, and see what he picked up on and see what I thought about it and compare and contrast. Now, I'm also going to link his review of Maidencane because he's much better than I am at pulling shit out of these stories. I would not have made the connections that he made at all. So in every single one of these videos, I will link his review of the short stories that he has done. So let's just dive into this. I won't have that big long introduction at the beginning of every video, I promise. And hopefully you enjoy it. If not, please let me know that down below too. But definitely if you enjoy this, please tell me so I can know that I need to continue this. So I have a review format that I usually do with my normal book reviews, and I'm going to try and follow that as much as possible. It's going to be a little bit harder with the short stories, but we're just going to muddle through this together and figure it out as we go. This short story is Maidencane. This is Maidencane by Chad B. Anderson, and it is from, it was originally published in Nimrod. I don't know what Nimrod is. I'm assuming it's a literary publication, magazine thing. This short story is only 10 pages long, and there's a lot going on in these 10 pages, I think. So I try to do a short summary in 3 to 4 sentences on all of these books in my reviews. I don't know that I can sum up this story in 3 to 4 sentences, even though it is only a 10-page short story. But the basic premise of this short story is we are introduced to a young child who we learn that it's his last day with his family, and then we see how that last day impacted his life into adulthood. So we get this little short flash of what happened on the last day that his family was all together, and then we see him as an adult and how that has impacted his choices. This story is told in second person, which I found interesting. I don't read a lot of second person. In the last day of the life of this character, as in his childhood that we see, he is out with his brother. I'm assuming it's an older brother. That's kind of the feel that I got, but I don't even think that was even stated. But they're out. They meet a girl, neighbor girl, on the fishing off a pier. They decide to steal her stuff and run off, and in the process, he gets a hook in his finger. They do end up catching a fish. They take it home to the parents for dinner that night, and shit just kind of falls apart. And in his memory, his mom cuts up the fish and there's blood everywhere, but they figure out he's got this hook in his hand, and so they all load him up and take him to the hospital to get the hook removed. And then once they get back home after that, he is told that the family is divorcing. The parents are divorcing, and the mom takes the older brother away, and he is left, or you are left with the father. The father is described throughout this as being kind of abusive to the mother. I assume that the children also suffer from the abuse from the father as well, maybe even more so neglect than actual abuse, but it seems to me that I didn't get the impression that it was a physical abuse in the household, but more that it was more kind of mental and emotional abuse. After this family separates, you are brought into the adult life of this younger brother character, where his whole life seems to be around that final memory of his whole family together. His mother and him are in contact a couple of times a year through letters and stuff, but very rarely anything more than that. He has kind of lost contact or stepped back the contact with his father, where he's only talking to him about once a year over phone, just kind of a check-in, how you doing, you still alive kind of thing. And then he hasn't had any contact from his brother at all. It seems to always kind of be a hit or miss thing. This character also has grown up to be bisexual. There is a boyfriend and a girlfriend mentioned that plays a prominent part in his life as an adult. And you don't get much details about the relationships at all. He gets different things from both of the boyfriend and the girlfriend. And I think that that is going to be important. So I think it's important that we look at some quotes here. There's actually an entire passage where it describes kind of what happened, kind of wraps up this whole what you feel and what you remember and what you're left with, or this character is left with. And it explains the father really well as well, I think. I'm going to read this passage. The details of those 24 hours stick with you like bread caked to the roof of your mouth, like fat in your arteries, like dirt under your fingernails. You are the trees that day, deep green and droopy with humidity. You are your brother's sneakers in the red dirt and the rubber band he used to tie his dreadlocks back. You are the girl on the dock and the snagged hook in your finger. You are the pencil your mother used to wind up the cassette. You are the scar your daddy got the next day from slamming the metal screen door on his ankle after they left. The ankle of a man who only knew how to love one person at a time. Your mother chose you for him and took herself and your brother out of the equation to make it easier. All of this, and what you'll think about most, is the girl on the dock, from the scab on her elbow to the purple galoshes that her sister passed down to her. I think that that is important because it kind of sums up things. When you have something traumatic happen to you in your childhood, it kind of propels the path of your life. Sometimes it propels you to outgrow it and change and become stronger for it, but sometimes it defines your life so much that you can't get past it and get over it. And that is something that you only focus on your entire life. And I think that this really sums up that memory as a child very well, because you have internalized all of those things that happened in that last 24 hours. And when your mother left, it's almost as if your brother was better, and so he deserved to go with the better parent, the more loving parent, because your dad couldn't be more loving because he can only love one person at a time. And so you got stuck with that. And then right after that passage is when you get into the adult version. You kind of get the impression that he has taken the path where he has let those last 24 hours define his entire life and not really make him stronger, but he holds on to that tragedy in his life and kind of internalizes it instead of growing from it. And this is also where you're introduced to the fact that there is both a boyfriend and a girlfriend. The boyfriend doesn't know about the girlfriend, but the girlfriend knows about the boyfriend, and you're told that as well. The girlfriend is more encouraging and supportive, where the boyfriend is more of the why don't you just get over this type of person in his life. There's also a quote in here that talks about the life that he has chosen, the career path where he He knows that his mother would probably be disappointed, but he hopes not, because he's at a higher level than the people she would be disappointed in. And so he has a lot of these quotes in here where he references the mother in ways that he hopes that she's proud of him, and that he has maybe not taken the path of the father who has raised him, and he's not quite that same kind of mentality. He hasn't become his father. And you can really see that in this quote where it says, "You spend your day with the type of people your mother would hate. People who chose the service industry willingly, not out of necessity. Since you are a manager, you feel it isn't quite the same and you haven't disappointed her." There's another clue in this text that shows that he really hasn't gotten over what happened when he was younger. When he's with his girlfriend, they are talking after just having sex, and she's telling him that her parents are getting remarried after having been divorced for so long, and it's kind of a disorienting and strange to her. And this is the thought that you have. It says, "You scratch your back and say you get it," and you do, because how disorienting, how messy, how exhausting it can be to drag from the depths what should remain settled at the bottom. I think that passage kind of really tells that he is still holding on and has still internalized that tragedy of his parents' separation when he was young, and hasn't come to the point of really dealing with it. And then towards the end of this, the last couple of pages of this short story, he finally gets in contact with his brother, or his brother finally contacts him, and they talk, and it's been, I don't know, several years, 10, 15 years, I don't know how long. The text doesn't really give you a definitive, but it's been a long time. And he or you bring up that last memory that y'all have together, where the girl on the dock installing the fishing pole and all of that, and his memory of it is completely and totally different than yours. One of the things that really stood out to me in this text was the description that the brother who went with the mother described of his parents, and it really is an accurate description of a marriage that is difficult. And it says, "Our parents were two weeds strangling each other out." And this, to me, this kind of also implies that if they're two weeds and they're strangling each other out, the only way for one of them to survive is to kill the other one. So which one of these was the surviving weed? Which parent was the survivor here? It kind of seems to me that the mother and brother were the ones that survived, and the father and you were the ones that didn't survive. They were the failed half of these weeds strangling each other out. The mother and brother ended up going off and living healthy, happy lives, and the father is still in the same place that he was, doing the same stuff he was, not really made anything else of himself. And you or the younger brother has been kind of left to you're not really surviving, you're not thriving. You are maybe existing, but you're not thriving or surviving, because of the circumstances that happened, because your parents were trying to strangle each other out. And if you've ever been in a type of relationship like that, that is so much of an accurate statement of how that feels. And then there was a passage here that really struck me too, because all of this, his life or your life, you've believed these memories that you had in that last 24 hours, and now your brother is telling you that didn't really happen. He's being kind of dismissive of it, that's not really how things happened. You're remembering these things wrong. And the passage here that really spoke to me there was, it says, "You feel embarrassed, as if you foolishly believed something for a long time, and suddenly your brother has revealed to you that maybe, just maybe, everyone else has known all along. The girl on the dock does not exist, and your brother never thought much of you, and you are more broken than you've ever understood. And I think that that really kind of sums up a lot of this story and why he has done the things he's done, because he was a broken individual. He's never healed himself. He was left with the parent that could only love one person at a time, and probably the person that parent loved wasn't you. It was probably himself over you anyway. And so you didn't get that loving and nurturing side to help you grow and thrive as a young child. And so now you're tossing in the wind. You're working in bars, and even though you're a manager and that's a little bit better, you're still working in bars, and you haven't become this great executive or whatever your brother has and held that level of achievement. So you are part of that industry, the underbelly of the society. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's kind of the connotation. He's never really made it in life. And he's got this girlfriend and this boyfriend, and they serve two different functions for him in his life, and he's still bitter and angry over everything, and now he feels embarrassed, and that maybe his whole life was a lie, and that can be damaging to a person. So one of the things that I thought about with the boyfriend and the girlfriend is, and the question I have, does this show that he has a little bit of a commitment phobia? He's not able to find what he needs in one person, but he has found it in two separate people, and therefore he can't commit to either one of them, because individually they can't give him what he needs in a relationship, but combined they fulfill his needs. And so is this his excuse to not find that one individual that can fulfill all of his needs, male or female, because then he doesn't have to commit to them in a way like his mother and father committed, and ultimately end up like his mother and father in a failed relationship? Is that why we have the boyfriend and girlfriend who don't know about each other, or one does and one doesn't? And because it doesn't really seem like this is a lifestyle he enjoys. There's some remarks about the boyfriend when the boyfriend is being discussed that kind of leaves you thinking, is he really into it, that guy? Or is that just a convenience? That is my long-winded analysis of this. My thoughts on this, not analysis. I don't know that I did a very good job at analyzing it. Rating. I don't know how you rate a short story. I didn't particularly enjoy it. I would say maybe 3 out of 5 stars on this one. I thought there was some interesting dynamics in it, especially from a broken home type perspective, and splitting the kids up. I don't understand that. Why would you split the kids up? Why would you leave one kid to be raised by somebody who is obviously abusive and dysfunctional? I don't understand that. So there's some abandonment issues going on in this story. There's just a lot going on, and I did find it interesting. I did not find it enjoyable. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know what you think of this review, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I'm just throwing some shit out. Seeing what I gather and pick up through these little short stories. But let me know what you thought of it. Let me know if you have read any of the short stories from the Best American Short Stories collection of 2017 by Meg Woltzer. Let me know if you're going to. I would really be interested in other people also reading along with me in these stories and picking out, seeing what all you pick out. I really have enjoyed watching Adrian's review of these, because he always gets stuff out of it that I don't. And so it's really interesting to see what he picks out from his perspective on reading the short stories too. So I definitely highly recommend you go check out his channel and his review of this short story. Would I recommend, would I not? I usually have that, and I don't know anything else. This is really my first experience with a short story collection like this. I would recommend other people to read it because I think we can all get something different out of it. I think our life experiences and how we read into things into the text will be very beneficial to show to everybody. I think everybody will get something different out of this, and I'd be interested to know your thoughts on it. That's it, and this is a really, really long video. So if you've enjoyed this, let me know in the comments below. Be sure and give me a thumbs up. That is going to let me know if you enjoyed this video and if I should continue this series. Next Sunday, I will be talking about We Are Not Men by T.C. Boyle from the New Yorker, and I have a lot of thoughts on this one too. I have a lot of thoughts on this one, and it's actually made me angry, so stick around. Be sure and check me out next Sunday for that short story review, and I guess that's it. Until next time, bye.